Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. So a couple things. Obviously, you've all heard that Southern California, it rained for like 3 solid days. Fortunately, where I am in Long Beach, we're fine. The Ryan's Comic Store is fine. From what I understand, a lot of it was like hillside mudslides. But honestly, everybody's okay here that I know, and we're all doing fine. It sometimes seemed worse than it was, but there were a lot of bad things. So just wanted to let everybody know we're all okay, and the comic shop's perfectly fine. And I'd worry about that too. And surprise, surprise, it's a pretty good sized week this week. Like I said, usually the first January is usually pretty slow, but February is looking pretty good so far. So we'll say I don't know if this is going to be things to come or this is just an odd. We'll see whether it kind of keeps up, but it's a pretty big week. So let's get started. First up, we have a new hardcover. Peacemaker Tries Hard. By Kyle Starks, written by Kyle Starks and drawn by Steve Pugh. This collects the entire 6-issue miniseries with Peacemaker finding Bruce Wayne, the dog Bruce Wayne, and going on an adventure with Red Bee, and it was really fantastic. It was an amazing 6-issue miniseries. Kyle Starks really knocked it out of the park with the story. It definitely falls in line with like the Peacemaker television show. It kind of has that vibe to it. And then Steve Pugh's artwork is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely just gorgeous. It's a great story, really great artwork. There's not really any, extras beyond. Does have all the cover galleries for all the alternate covers that were available for all 6 issues. But no special features, which is always kind of a disappointment. But hey, they put it out in a nice hardcover, so I am not complaining at all. So. Definitely, for me, the big must-buy book of the week, and it's pretty reasonably priced. It's only $24.99. So, and if you get it at Pulp Fiction Comics Long Beach, you can get a discount on it. But anyways, definitely check that out at your local comic shop. I really love that series, and it's really a must-read book, and it's nice. You can get it all in one shot now. So first up, we have The One Hand #1, written by Ram V, with artwork by Lawrence Campbell. So what this is Detective Ari Nasser is going to retire, but there's this one case that he's dealt with over the years. There's somebody that kills people and leaves these secret ciphers and a handprint, and they thought that they caught him the first time, but then there was like a copycat killer, later on, years later, and now currently he's back. So Ari, says, goes into the captain and says, you haven't signed my paperwork for retirement, so I'm going to solve this case. So that's kind of the setup here. And then he discovers a secret with the killer might have something special about his hand. I don't want to give it away. Try not to spoil anything, but this is really a good start to the book. The other nice thing is, I will say, there was a preview that was kind of like the setup before the story starts, and it is included in the back of this issue. It was kind of a preview in other Image comics, so it's nice that they included that. But Ram V just knocked it out of the park on this book. I really enjoyed the story, the pacing. I like the noir aspects of it too. It's not heavy noir, but it kind of leans into that, and it was just really well thought out. It's a basic simple murder mystery, but it's all the little things that go with it, and Ram V does a really nice job of fleshing the characters out, setting everything up, and the pacing on it's just really, really good. And then Campbell's artwork is just really stunning, really captures kind of like the gritty, feel of the story. But, once again, I always say when, when an artist can draw people standing around talking and make it interesting, that's always, a sign for me of a really good artist. And Campbell really nails it here, because there's a lot of, dialogue and talking, but yet visually you're just really sucked into the story. So definitely a real big pick this week. Definitely check it out. It's really really good. Next up we have Gone #2, written and drawn by Jock. So this is the second issue of the Distillery book, and as all distillery books, it's the nice magazine side, really size that shows off Jock's artwork. So the story picks up roughly like 10-15 years later, where Abby has she's gotten on this ship. It's basically these ships are for rich people, and then the poor people are kind of struggling. And so Ari went there to kind of get supplies for her mother and stuff, and she's trapped on the ship with and then there's these this gang that has infiltrated and trying to take over the ship. And so what it is time on the ship goes at normal time, but time back on, say, on Earth or the planet runs at a slower pace. So she also, so it's years later, they haven't been able to take control of the ship, and it's kind of on lockdown. And so she discovers somebody on the ship that happens to be her father. I don't want to say too much more and get too spoilery, but it really changes kind of the game with Abby and the ship and everything. So, and I will say that there's a great shocking ending to it that it really has nothing to do with her father in a way. And I'm really digging this story. Of course, Jock's artwork's amazing and everything, and that's an easy buy for that. But I think he's done a really good story here, and the twist with the aging and everything in this story really kind of was kind of a great idea. It's not something I would have really kind of thought that it was going to go to, but I really enjoyed that. And then once again, the artwork's amazing. So this is another win for Distillery. They're really batting 1,000 with their books, so definitely check out Gone. Next up, we have Ultimate Black Panther #1, written by Brian Hill with artwork by Stefano Caselli. So this is the second of the new Ultimate books, and so what it is Khonshu and Ra, who are kind of Moon Knight, are trying to take control of Africa, and the only part of it really left that they're not in control of is Wakanda. And so what it is Wakanda is obviously its own little universe and everything. And the word gets back to the king, not T'Challa, his father, and that hey, they're trying to take over Africa, but we're still safe, but this is a threat. And that's, and then of course they come in with suicide bombers and try to kill the king and everything. That's the basic setup here. I think comparing this to, say, Ultimate Spider-Man that came out a few weeks back, really kind of had a freshness to it. Now, I will definitely say that this is good for new readers in that sense. But I think where I kind of struggled with it with Brian Hill's script is it really just felt like a regular Black Panther story. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. I just, it didn't kind of have the hook like Ultimate Spider-Man did, where it's like things we know, but slightly different, where this just felt like, okay, this is just Black Panther, this is Wakanda, and this is, all the characters. I didn't really find it much different than a regular Black Panther story. Not saying that that's bad. It's just that, like, I expected something kind of a little different. Not that it needed to be wildly different, just something that felt a little different. I will say Cassely's artwork's nice, and like I said, it is a good start for new readers if they kind of want to jump into like a Black Panther story. I think really for me it's going to take at least a couple, one or two more issues to kind of see where Brian Hill's going to take this and make it maybe feel a little different. And like I said, it's certainly not a bad book. I kind of wanted more. I kind of wanted something different, and I didn't get that. So in that respect, I was a little disappointed, but it certainly, the quality of the book is actually good. I just wanted a little bit more. Next up, we have You and I, #1, written by J. Michael Straczynski, with artwork by Mike Choi. So what this is the character You wakes up in the hospital and doesn't really have any memory of what of him or anything that's going on. What has happened is been the Great Death, which has killed a lot of people. So as he comes out of the hospital, we discover that he has this power to regenerate. So if he gets cut or something, it heals itself very quickly. Kind of like Wolverine. Let's say that. And so what it is he goes out of the hospital and he sort of becomes this like superhero. Like these guys are, kind of purse snatching this lady and attacking her, and he comes to rescue her. And of course, because they shoot him, but then he heals very quickly, that they really can't ultimately kill him. And then there's an interesting side story with this character, Isabella, who we don't really know much about, but she's kind of there's something going on with her and her family. She gets thrown out of the house, but there's some sort of connection between Isabella and You. So that's obviously going to come into play in the later issues. This is really a setup here in the first issue, but I did really like a lot of the concepts that Straczynski does introduce here. The really big win for this is Choi's artwork is really amazing, and there's a couple times where he alters the artwork a little bit for like time shifting, like stuff in the past and compared to the present, and or kind of like a dreamlike thing, and it really visually really works because it gives you like You kind of has this like kind of visions of a different world when he is fighting. And so it's really neat how there's like those two visual, distinctions in Choi's artwork, and it really, really works. I really like this first issue, but it is a setup. So there's a lot, kind of exposition. Straczynski setting things up here. So we'll kind of see where that second issue goes. But I did like this first issue, and I think it's off to a good start. Next up, we have Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, #3, written and drawn by Patrick Horvath. So what it is so you have Samantha, who owns the local hardware store, and she goes into the big city to like kill people. It's kind of like her release of like normalcy. Well, then what happens is there's a murder comes to this small community, and everybody's freaked out. So what Sam is trying to discover, because she's a serial killer, she's trying to find out who the other serial killer is, because she doesn't want to get discovered that, because she didn't do the killing in the town, but she's trying to figure out, maybe because of how she kills people. And so she starts to follow the local butcher, and Melody, and kind of like, oh, there's something weird with her, and then I don't want to give that part of the story away. It's really kind of interesting how she discovers something, but it's not the murder thing. But and then there's a funeral for Martin at the end of the book, and of course she goes, like most of the town goes, because she knows the killer's going to be there, because that's kind of an MO. And so it's just like, so she's trying to figure out who this killer is. This book has really been amazing. It's kind of like it's like, think of Dexter, but with cute animals, cute animal people, and it's like, it's the dichotomy of the visuals that they're like these animals, but yet there's a serial killer book, and it's just. This book is really amazing. It has really blown me away. I mean, the first issue was just, knocked me on, just knocked my socks off. But I really have to give it to Horvath that each issue is built so nicely on the last issue. And it's really, the pacing of this is just really amazing. So definitely check this book out. I know that they've done a number of printings on the first and second issue, so you might still should be able to still find those, but definitely check this book out. This is definitely one to watch. I really enjoyed this. Next up, we have Thundercats #1, written by Declan Shelvey, with artwork by Drew Moss. So if you're fairly familiar with the Thundercats show, back in the early 90s. I think it was late 80s, early 90s when it came out. You know, you'll be familiar with most of the cast, and Shelby does a good job of, like, you know, kind of introducing the characters, you know, so you kind of get to know them. You know, and I think he's done a good job for, like, new readers that maybe aren't super familiar with the characters, so that's a plus. But basically, it starts off with the destruction of Thundera, and then they're traveling, you know, to try to get away from you know, from the bad guys. And while, you know, they're in these sleep chambers, these hibernation chambers, and Lion-O's chamber malfunctions, and he actually grows up. He's still asleep, but he actually ages when he should still be a kid. So that's an interesting twist. And you know, honestly, I don't remember if that was in the cartoon. I don't think it was. But it was an interesting twist that Shelby has put into the story, and kind of, you know, once again, the great thing about a book like this is, you know, you can give more character to the story, where the show was, you know, fairly one and done. You know, bad guys come, you know, Thundercats beat them up, and, you know, where, you know, with this, you know, there's a lot more characterization in it. Moss's artwork is really nice, captures the spirit of, you know, the Thundercats animated series. I would say, you know, obviously, if you're a fan, you're going to buy this. I think the question kind of comes down to if you're a mild fan of the show. I actually liked it. You know, it didn't necessarily blow my socks off, but I think it was a good, solid story and really nice artwork. And I think the other thing is Shelby gives you a good reason to come back for a second issue, because he doesn't, you know, it's slow build on, you know, the story and the characters and Mumra and all that stuff. So I think it's worth checking out. You know, I think you have to be somewhat of a fan of Thundercats, but I think, unless you hate them, you're going to like this book. Next up, we have DC's How to Lose a Guy. Oh, yeah, How to Lose a Guy. How to Lose a Guy Gardner in 10 Days. Now, this is an anthology, so there's multiple stories, so we're going to go. So, How to Lose Guy Gardner in 10 Days is written by Kenny Porter with artwork by Nick Robles. Then we have Robots Are Red, Androids Are Blue, with written by Aaron J. Walke, with artwork by Ivan Sharon. Golden Pairs, written by Danny Lohr, with artwork by Ted Brandt and Ro Stein. Too Many Dates, written and drawn by Marguerite Savage. Never Been Kissed, written by Alex Galler, with artwork by Derek Charm. Love's a Stretch, written by Dennis Hopeless, with artwork by Baltimore Riveras. Say Yes to the Mess, written by Brandon Hay, with artwork by M.L. Sanapo. And then finally, we have Date Night, written by George Mann, with pencils by Leonardo Rodriguez, with inks by Joe Prado and Jonas Trinidad. So once again, there's, you know, I always base these anthologies on, like, you know, stories. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 stories, not quite 10. So roughly there may be like $1 plus some change, and so you base it on, because it's a $10 book, so you base it on that. And I have to say, all of them were good. Now, there's some that I enjoyed more than others, but I think in you know, we really break it down per each one, I enjoyed each story. Now, at first, you know, I kind of flipped through it and I wasn't sure, you know, because I'm like, some of these anthologies, and I wasn't familiar with a lot of the creative names. Now, I knew some of them, but not a lot of them. And sometimes that can go either way. But in this case, honestly, I was very surprised that they were all solid stories and nice artwork. So we're going to go through each of them pretty quickly. So the How to Lose Guy Gardner is basically Vicky Vale has this idea for a story about dating superheroes, so she decides to date Guy Gardner. And you know, and as well, we know that Guy Gardner is such a charming and warm and fuzzy person, how well that works out for Vicky Vale. You know, Porter does a nice job. You know, he definitely latches on the, you know, Guy's a real jerk. But it's one of those things. It's like that's he takes a story into kind of more less off the surface and kind of goes deeper, where both Vicky and Guy kind of learn something from this experiment. Roblay's artwork is really nice. It does it really surprisingly good story as it went along. The robots are red is Red Tornado. How he's he has like a soul and everything, but he's kind of trapped in this mechanical body. And so what it is if he gets destroyed, he can send his essence to a new android. Well, he basically it's Dr. Kathy Sutton, along with William Magnus, have created this thing where they can transfer him to a new body. And so he ultimately kind of falls in love with her. And then there's that. So he's longing to kind of be have human emotions and everything, but he's also kind of a robot. So there's kind of like the dichotomy of the two. And so he's also left on the Justice League satellite with the new Bat computer. So I don't want to give away anything more, but it really is a good story. That Walkie, really nice emotional story, and Sauron's artwork is really, really nice. I really like that one. Then we have the Golden Pairs, which is Booster Gold, starting a dating service, and with Booster's knowledge and everything, he of course screws everything up, and then he has to go to the past to try to fix this, which he kind of does, but as Booster usually does, he sort of fixes it, but he screws it up at the same time. So that's a fun story. Lore captures Booster really nice. Brandt and Stein's artwork is really good. They capture like the goofiness of Booster really well, and I really enjoyed the artwork on that one. I really like that. The Too Many Dates by Marguerite Savage is really interesting because it's about Wally meeting or I should say Barry meeting Iris for the first time. And so, or maybe it is Wally. I can't remember. Sorry. So anyways, he goes on a date with Iris, and he tries to keep making it perfect, and then he discovers when he talks to his family that sometimes being perfect is not always the best. And then his mom tells him, hey, our first date was a disaster, but that's why I fell in love with your father. So yeah, it really is a sweet story, and Savage's artwork is amazing. She's a brilliant artist, but the story was really solid, and I really enjoyed it. The Never Been Kissed is John Constantine, with kind of reimagining when him and Gaz are kids, how Gaz had never kissed a girl. So John does all these things, to try to get him kissed. Some of them gets him in trouble with the law. Some of him gets him, and it's not like they're going after little girls. They're going after, they're trying to get women, women to kiss Gaz. And it's really, it's a really cute story, but it really has a really great emotional end, and I really enjoyed it. Galler's story was really good. Derek Charm, I'm a huge fan of. He did the young adult Johnny Constantine book, so he was absolutely perfect to draw this. I really like that, and like I said, the ending was just absolutely perfect. Loves a Stretch is Plastic Man, and how he wants to date like he always looks to date like kind of the supermodel look, but he finds out that he dates this girl, and she only dates him so she can try to date other superheroes. And then he always Plastic Man goes to this diner, and he really the waitress is kind of like the girl next door sort of thing, and she's always saying don't go after women for their looks, go after them because they're good or they're nice, you know. It really is. It's a really good Plastic Man story. I'm a big fan of Plastic Man. Hopeless does a really nice job here with the script, and Riva's artwork is perfect, especially when he does like Plastic Man as a pool. You know, he's just because he's sad and everything. He's just like pooling out and everything. It really visually is amazing, and I really enjoyed that. Say Yes to the Mask is a Wonder Woman story where everybody's trying to date Wonder Woman, and so she gets this, she's like, I can't, I don't want to date these people. I just want to be, I'm not in the dating mood right now. So she ends up getting them all together. So there's like civilians and villains that are trying to date her. So she gets them all together and says, hey, I don't want to date you, but maybe you guys could all talk to each other, and maybe you might want to date, you have common things, don't go after me because I don't necessarily want to date right now. So it's a really cute little story. Like I said, it kind of started off a little rough, but really comes together all in the end. Hayes' script is really nice, and Santapo's artwork does the job nicely. And then finally, Date Night is Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon going out on a date. And then of course it's, their whole thing is like, okay, we're going to date. We didn't bring our suits, what they actually did. And then they the other Bat family is in charge, but then they have to go, kind of save the day. And they discover that date night is not necessarily like you have to be fancy or everything. Sometimes date nights are just, you need to be with the person you love. And really, Man does a great job with telling that story. Really, it all comes together in the end, and Rodriguez's artwork is really nice. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I think it's a big win. It's DC's Valentine special, and like I said, all the stories were good. Some of them, like I said, some of them I liked a little more than others. That's not discounting them, but I think it's worth the $10, which is kind of a rarity for some of those books. So definitely look for that one at your local comic shop and kind of flip through it and see what you think of, with the artwork and everything. But overall, I enjoyed all the stories. Next up, we have Pine and Merrimac #2, written by Kyle Starks with artwork by Fran Galan. So what it is a Pine, normally she will not take a missing persons a case because her sister was kidnapped, and that's how she became like a police officer, detective. But she doesn't want to do it because most of the time they end up in not. They find out that the person's dead. So she decides to take this case with her husband, who's an ex-MMA fighter. And so at the end of the first issue sets it up, what where they're from and, how they do it. In this issue, they take the case, she takes the case. So they find out that there's this island, Senator Island, where the girl might be. So when they get there, they find out that there's like really some like weird rituals maybe going on, and maybe some sex trafficking. And so there's obviously a bigger story to this girl who was kidnapped than her just being kidnapped. There's something more going on, and we kind of learned that issue. In this issue, and I don't want to give anything away, but I really like this, and I think the one thing I really like about this is that they're a married couple that actually likes each other. It's not like, oh, I hate you and blah, blah, blah. No, this is actually a good marriage, and they actually work well together. And the yin and yang is perfect between them in the sense of they really are a great couple. And I love that Starks has really embedded that, into the story. And then Galan's artwork is really fantastic. This guy is just really, this book is beautiful, and it's definitely well worth checking out. So see if you can find the first issue. Definitely latch onto this book. It's one to watch. Next up, we have Batman #142. It is Joker Year One story written by Chip Zdarsky, with pencils by Giuseppe Camunculi and inks by Stefano Nessi. And then also Andrea Sorrentino does part of the artwork. So this is not retelling of Joker's origin. It's kind of a year one, like after he becomes the Joker. Here's the thing. I liked aspects about the story, but I just wasn't particularly overwhelmed. So what it is, it's after, the Joker, he's got the chemical vat and he was the Red Hood. He kind of is finding his way and, trying to he's kind of like got these three Jokers within him. And he's just kind of lost and he's trying to like find his way of, I guess, being a villain. Um, I don't know. It just didn't hit me. I mean, I'll definitely, it's a 3-part story, so I'll definitely give all 3 parts a shot. But this first story was a bit underwhelming. I think there's interesting things about it. Because obviously, Gordon is not commissioner yet. He's just a regular detective. Batman's still kind of new. It just like there was a lot of setup here, so maybe that was it. But I just didn't really feel emotionally connected. I will say the one thing, Kamankole's artwork is great. The Sorrentino, kind of, I think they're flash forwards or, but that, of course, he's just an amazing artist. Those pages are just amazing looking. But I just felt that Zdarsky's story was a little, so we'll see if that, changes as it goes along. But, just, I temper your expectations on this one. Next up, we have Fantastic Four, number 17, written by Ryan North, with artwork by Carlos Gomez. So this is, another one and done Fantastic Four story where this crew who's doing, building, they discover bones. And what they discover is that the bones have a cloth fragment within it that's a Fantastic Four outfit. So Sue and Reed go back and they discover, that these bones are X amount of years old. So they go back in time to figure out, what's going on. And then they run into Rama Tut, that is from Fantastic Four issue 19 way back in the day. And that he's trying to change time. And so what it is Sue and Reed have to, fix it so he doesn't screw up time. That's the basic story. I don't want to give anything more away because there's some great twists and turns in the story that North does. But once again, North knocks it out of the park. I love these one and done or just a couple issue storylines. Gomez's art is really nice. It's just this book I really love to death. Ryan is just knocking it out of the park. And every issue is just something I look forward to every single month. It's really a good book. And definitely, once again, you can just buy this issue by itself to kind of see what Ryan has been doing in the book. So definitely check this out. Next up, we have Shazam, number 8, written by Mark Waid, with artwork by Goran Sudusca. So this is the second part of the story. So last issue, Captain Marvel and Black Adam get into a fight. They destroy the house where Billy and the Foster family lived. And so Mr. Dinosaur, the auditor, has been, he doesn't want to go back. He actually wants to stay with the family. He loves, helping them out. And so what it is the other dinosaur accountants basically, threaten Earth to bomb them with paperwork. They'll destroy the Earth by bombing them with paperwork, which first of all is genius. So then Billy has to, because they want, Mr. Dinosaur back. So, and he doesn't want to go, and Billy's trying to figure out how to get him to stay. So he goes back, he goes to the spaceship, and he takes Darla with him. And so the funniest thing I've almost ever read, because I totally laughed out loud, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but so he leaves Darla, and so every time that the dinosaur captain asks a question, Darla's like, why? And so he's explaining why Mr. Dinosaur can't stay, and there's paperwork, and Darla's like, why? And so so Billy takes off again, pleads with Zeus and Black Adam to fix the house because things got messed up. I don't want to reveal anymore, but I have to say I love this book, and this might be my favorite issue ever, at least so far. The Darla thing was brilliant. It's such a good book, and what I love about it is that Wade gets, that Billy, when he turns into Captain Marvel, he is still Billy. And Billy's still a young kid. He's still learning and everything, and he really captures that. But it's all these other things he's doing with the book. The Mr. Dinosaur, Tawny the Tiger, the family and everything. He just and finally, the Black Adam, maybe kind of a anti-hero, but he is Captain Marvel's villain. And I like the fact that Wade kind of leaned into that. Not that he's a bad guy, but he's not a good guy. So Suduska's artwork is really good. I mean, I miss Dan Mora, but he's done a really nice job. So I love this book. You really need to be checking this book out. I know there's going to be a trade of the first 6 issues that's coming out soon, so definitely pick that up when it comes out. This continues to be a must-buy comic. And so we have Dark Spaces Dungeons #3, written by Scott Snyder with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So Tyler's son Cal has been kidnapped by the dungeon master, and but Detective Maddock has been the only one that's escaped him. So what it is they found another one, Tommy, who was captured, but the bad guy let him be found because he's still after Maddock because he's the one that got away. And so really he's doing all this to actually get back at Detective Maddock, who has now been suspended from the case, but Tyler and him continue to find the case, and it leads them to a juvenile hall, Wingard, where they discover where this serial killer has kind of started, and he started creating dungeons there. So that's a nice twist on the story. A little bit of spoilery, sorry about that. I'm really digging this book. Snyder's really, once again, I mean, there's the whole kidnapping aspect of it and everything, and the horror, but I really like how he's the characters have been developed, and how really it's a character study piece. And I really like it. And then Sherman's artwork is really great. This has been a really big surprise. I'm a fan of Scott Snyder's work, but this book is really good. You really need to be checking out. And I know it's going to be tough finding the first couple issues, but if you can find them, definitely pick this book up. I really, really like it. And finally, this week we have Birds of Prey #6, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Leonardo Romero. So this is the finale of the first story arc. So Black Canary and the team have gone to Theraschema to rescue her sister Sin, who has been possessed by Megara. And so what it is, if Megara, and Sin become complete, then Megara will take her over. So the team is trying to separate the two. And that's a basic story, because I don't want to give anything more away, because there's really a lot that goes with that, with the team coming together and everything. I've been really surprised by this book. I say I'm surprised at how much I like it, even more than I like Thompson and Romero's previous work together. I really like the fact that it's kind of a different team. It's not necessarily Harley Quinn's kind of the biggest name on the team, but I like that Kelly's using Big Barda and these other characters. And also with the way that this issue ends, and I will not give anything away, that things are going to change in the next story arc. And I like that why just kind of keep doing the same thing when, hey, you can change things. And also there's a secret reveal with why Barbara Gordon, she wanted to go, and because she's really good friends with Sin, and why that didn't happen. And I really was like, whoa, that was a nice surprise in the story. But Thompson and Romero just knocking out of the park on this book. It's really, really good. Definitely well worth checking out. So this is the end of the first story arc, so I'm sure there's going to be a trade of the first 6 issues. So I know it's probably going to be a little tough to find the first 5. So, but definitely when this comes out in trade, if you have not gotten this book in the regular monthlies, then definitely pick it up when it comes out in the trade, because this is really good stuff here. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store there. There's Annie, there's Wendy, there's Derek, who runs their socials. It's a great comic store, very much a comic store. They have a great pull service, so you don't miss any issues. They have discounts on trades and graphic novels. They have a nice manga selection, a great all ages, a nice local creators area for people that do comics and prints and stuff. That's really great. It's just really a great comic store. And as always, support your local comic shop. Make sure that if you've ordered something, pick it up on a timely basis when you can, because they have to pay for it before you get it. But definitely support your local comic shop, because they're the real backbone of the industry. They make all this stuff work. Nothing against the creators of the companies, but it's really, the people on the ground, the local comic shop owners that really, make this industry tick. So it's very important to make sure that you support your local comic shop in any way you can. And we end our show with, as always, be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. Kindness doesn't cost anything. And just do the little things, the little simple things, like saying hello, opening the door, but also be kind to yourself. Take care of yourselves, because I know times are rough and it's just tough. So being kind to yourself, just do little things that make you happy. So being kind to yourself is very important. So that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comments are welcome. We've had some great comments lately. And as always, if I make a mistake here, definitely don't feel bad about pointing it out, because there's a lot to get through every week, and sometimes I miss little things. Somebody caught one on a book last week. It was a great catch on your part. Thank you very much for catching that. But please share the videos, like the videos, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Take care. We'll see you again next week, and read more comics. Bye-bye.